Peace and greetings, Brother Bobby. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear
me? We can hear you loud and clear. Peace and blessings.
Okay, yeah. And I'm glad you brought it, made that selection of Roy Ayers' Third Eye. I think that's coming from the Everybody Loves the Sunshine album, 1976. If any of you all have never heard of Roy Ayers, you need to go out and get all you can find on him. Now, Roy Ayers is a part of the wave of masters to come through in the metaphysical realm. Our metaphysics and our spirituality in the 70s and in the 80s, but mainly in the 70s, were people like Roy Ayers, Earth, Wind and Fire with Maurice White, Parliament Funkadelic, including Bootsy. It's ironic, I played some Bootsy today, Stretching Out on a Rubber Band, which came out the same year as this the Roy Ayers Everybody Loves the Sunshine album, which features Third Eye, and was playing this Stretching Out of the Rubber Band, Bootsy, and the brother from Chicago, Andrew, called me and said, "Hey man, I just met Bootsy today."
Wow.
And then he said, well, I'm gonna have to download the show because Bootsy gave us backstage passes at a club he's performing to show you that whole spiritual thing and all. And it's interesting here. So these were our spiritual inspirers in all. And Roy Ayers is one of the main ones. Of course, Bootsy, got in a motorcycle accident in the 80s, and the spirit told him if he got off drugs, they would heal him completely. And he did. And they healed him. Why? Because he was one of those people who was one of our teachers when we didn't actually have the type of knowledge. They taught based on inspiration, you see, based on inspiration, and that's how they taught. Now, Roy Ayers is a major one. He went to Africa in 1980. He has an album out, which is now on CD. You can get these things. It's called Africa, Center of the World. He appeared with, he met with, what's your boy, Fela Kuti. He met with Fela in 1980. They got him on the inside of the jacket of the album cover. But like I said, that's on CD now, Africa, Center of the World. Very conscious brother. He talks about the third eye throughout other parts of his music, but very spiritual master, came back to the earth. You see what I'm saying? To impart this knowledge on us by inspiration. So we have these types of people that would do that and stuff, you see. Very conscious brother. And as you know, it is not by mistake that we're talking about this and we're celebrating the passing of Gil Scott-Heron.
Yes.
So when I say celebrating, I already know when a mission is over, hey, they partying.
That's
just going down to the party before, so we don't. You see, so Gil Scott-Heron was one, and had a lot of singers and stuff that was conscious. Remember Joe Tex? I ain't gonna bump no more with the big fat woman. Big butt woman, conscious brother. Remember the member of the Nation of Islam.
Yes.
You see. I mean, and you'd be surprised all the conscious people. But all of them was inspired, especially Parliament Funkadelic. He said, asked George Clinton. We saw him back in the 90s and asked him, where did you get this the mothership stuff from? He said, well, partly Elijah Muhammad, but mainly Sun Ra. And Sun Ra didn't believe he was from this planet and never existed like that. So we celebrate that, and that's the type of music. And for people, but if you want to get into some real spiritual music, get you some Roy Ayers.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting here because we're talking about Bootsy Collins' first album. There's a song on there called "Vanishing in Our Dreams." Vanishing in Our Dreams. And let me see if it's "Vanishing in Our Dreams" or "Vanishing in Our Sleep." Let me get that right. It's on the first album. Bootsy Collins, Stretching Out on a Rubber Band, 1976. But I need to find out, was it the song called Vanishing in Our Dreams, and I'm going to tell you a little something. It's going to segue into what is actually happening with us.
Right.
So this Bootsy Collins album, and we're going to get into all that, and I want to say I should come out by saying hello, Blog Talk listeners. I start, when you get inspired, you know, sometimes it's called Vanish in Our Sleep. Vanish in Our Sleep. And in there, which is very interesting. Now, this is we played this today. There's a movie out called Vanishing on 7th Street. Now, this is very, very important today on what is going on with our lives. What is going on in our lives. The other thing is the article in, I think, was either March or April's Ebony. Let me get I know it's the Ebony with
was it
the movie Jump in the Broom.
Okay.
The cast of the it's that Ebony, and somebody will call in and give us the
they
actual,
will. Title.
The actual whether it was August or April, whether it was March or April. But in there there's an article. About 300,000 black people disappeared. People of color, they say, disappeared last year. But yet when he goes into the article, he's only speaking about almost one girl that was missing. But they gave that report. And that's very key that you understand that, because when you download or rent Vanishing on 7th Street, with Vanishing on 7th Street, it's probably went straight to video. The DVD. So once you download that,
right,
or either go out and get it, it'll explain some things that's happening, and it's probably going to explain what happened to those 300,000 people. And in so many words, we got people to just vanish.
Yes.
Now, if it would have happened in the 90s, we could have said, well, the government killed them.
Right.
Because that's what they did in the 90s. They cleaned out all the projects and, got rid of people. But what we're talking about here is people disappearing. You can go to stores on Saturday and don't be nobody in them.
That's true.
There's a little shopping center in the black neighborhood. When I first got to Atlanta back in 1986, I was working on Martin Luther King's son's campaign for Fulton County Commissioner.
Right.
And we would go around, getting the voters and stuff at that particular time. We went by this little black shopping center, and it was nothing but just hundreds of people as the eye could see. And now I went by, that was on a Saturday. I went by about a month ago on a Saturday, and there was hardly nobody there. Now, and it's hardly nobody there. Basically, some of these people are vanishing. So we're talking about an ascension. I try to understand that, because when you see the movie, you're going to see this darkness taking people. And that's the melanin. That's the dark matter, if you want to put it on a cosmic level.
Right.
So you're going to see the darkness taking people. But they're going to be playing all early 1960s music of black women. You see what I'm saying? So that's like that Great Mother.
Right.
These groups like the Marvelettes and these different type of groups that they had, back in the day. You see, so you have to put two and two together on what they're saying, but there's a vanishing thing that's happening. Now, let me give you an example on what happened to me that takes this right to the personal level.
Okay.
Our last time I spoke was New Year's night on Blog Talk.
Yes.
And after that, we had the birds started dying, the blackbirds started dying, and all kinds of things. We're going to get into a series of things that happened between the last 6 months. Okay. Number one, so I did one lecture right after that on the 15th, Martin Luther King's birthday. Martin Luther King's birthday. And at that particular time, a great occultist by the name of Kenneth Grant, who was ostracized by the white community. He's a white guy, a British, but he he was one of the people that did it two times in a row. First, it was Gerald Massey, 19th century scholar that died in 1907, that revealed that all this Egyptian and all this science and everything came from black people.
Right.
And the Egyptian was black and all that. Before that, it was a guy by the name of Godfrey Higgins. Did a book called Anacalypsis, and said he traced all these gods back, and they come back to being black. All the gods around the world. Now, so Gerald Massey did the same thing. When they started translating hieroglyphics and went into the British Museum, Gerald Massey, the goddess Sekhmet, appeared to him in a hotel room and told him, "You're going to go into the British Museum, and you are a black man, and do not flinch with what you see." Because a lot of people saw this stuff as black, all this stuff coming out of Egypt.
Right.
See, and they would hide the fact. So he went in, revealed what he saw, made it all black, and to this day, most white scholars don't put the greatest Egyptologist the world has ever seen. And all you got to do is look at his work and see this. They don't even put him in his books. So they got a way to, they have a way to ostracize you, persona non grata. You become a social pariah. They can do it in the academic world. Well, in the occult world, one of the guys who's instrumental in teaching me the mysteries of Awas through his materials, he passed away on the 15th, Martin Luther King's birthday, and he was like in his 80s. But he was the second one that everybody ostracized and wouldn't put him in the occult books. You see what I'm saying and all? Because he said it was all black, and he was one of the greatest occultists to ever live. So as a result, he said it was all black also. So he made the transition, and then a couple of weeks ago, Sister Bert Hatshepsut made the transition.
Right.
And also made the transition. Sister Bert Hatshepsut, her name was Bert Lockett. Alberta Lockett was her name, and they called her Bert. And also her Egyptian name was Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. And so she made the transition. But it's interesting here. She was instrumental, like I said, starting the careers. As far as all these people might have been out before.
Right.
They had been doing stuff like Valentine in. But when she put Valentine, had him to open for Blair in 94, he never stopped looking. I mean, this flew, and so she introduced a lot of people at that time. She was the first to bring me to New York.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying and all, to New York and all. She was one of the first people to interview Brother Daoud and different people. So she made the transition, and that was also a pioneer. So I'm going to New York. Now, this is the first time I have lectured since January the 15th.
Right.
And that was by choice.
Right.
And stuff. I just basically postponed the lectures, you see, postponed the lectures and stuff because there was something that was going on, and I needed to get the energy of it and all. So what had happened is I got my answer. Now, I went through all kind of spiritual things the last 6 months, but I really got my answer on where I actually was and where I actually am. I got my answer at the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta. Now, that's the Atlanta Airport.
Yeah.
And they have this new system that they put in with this. You go through this radar screening. And they had a whole hoopla of people that didn't want to go through the radar screening and all of that type of stuff. You see, and all of that. Well, I'm like a Mars Attack. When they shot the radar, they shot the radiation of them. They just sucked it up and started laughing like laughing gas. Got high off of it. So when I went through this time, so I went through safe, went through with unscathed in January. You still on?
Yes, I am. Right here.
Okay. I went through unscathed in January. So this time, when I went through, which was a week ago today, it was on the 4th, on Friday, when I went through, they said, you got to go back through again. So I went back through again, And after I went back through again, the woman got out. She said, "You must have moved or something." Whatever it was, she was trying to justify why I couldn't show up on the radar. And so that means you got to get the pat down or the full body search or what have you. So they call the guy over to do the pat down and stuff like that. Now, it's not registering to me until I'm on the plane. You see what I'm saying? And what had happened, because she kept asking me, "Why did you move?" Well, she kept saying something, trying to justify something that shouldn't happen. But what it was this. The past 6 months, I had gone into another dimension. Both me and Linda and the house and everything around us, we know the cats go into these dimensions.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So through our sleep, because I got a lot of sleep, I had gone through another dimension, and between the time of January coming back this time, when I stepped into the radar thing, I was in another dimension. So, because they couldn't detect it. So, what this is trying to say here is, this is probably what is happening to those people. There's no way that you can have 300,000 people disappear without a trace.
Yes, so
true. You see what I'm saying? And nobody knows anything. That has to be some type of dimension. That's some type of ascension.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, whatever the deal was, is I had enough power or whatever it was to tread both worlds. Most of the people that find themselves going up in those dimensions don't return. You see what I'm saying? But don't worry about them. They get the party before you. They're only doing what all of us are going to do.
Yes, so
you see
true.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
What all of us are going to do. They are only doing that type of thing. You see what I'm saying? So I already got part of my initiation, or what I would call my illumination, based on experiencing that last Friday, whereas I went off the radar. And so what I had to do, coming back through LaGuardia, I had to reappear myself again. But luckily, when I got to LaGuardia, they didn't even have those new radar machines. They just have the old system where your chains go off. You just got where they only detect the metal. So so I didn't get a chance to know. I was kind of looking forward to see what would happen, but I didn't get a chance to know whether I was back in the material world or rematerialized, or whether I was still in that dimension. I didn't get a chance to know because LaGuardia only had the old system. You see what I'm saying? So this is very key, and I guess we could take a little question and answers at the end and try to discuss this, because this is very key on what is going on. So to try to understand other things, we'll go through a few things, and we'll go into discussing this third eye. Now, like I said, it mentioned, we still have the picture packet, which is unbelievable. We have the checks, the seals, and the purple disc, and the 2 CDs that comes with the stimulus package, and we also have the various DVDs that you can also get. Now, this is very interesting because we're introducing, and I would suggest to people who don't have their purple disc, they need to try to get some, because you got to realize some things that's happening, and that is this one thing. During the summer months, during the summer months is when the government gives access to a lot of melanated people to have access to have concerts and all types of social events.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying? So you would have that Essence Festival in New Orleans. You see what I'm saying? Every summer. You see, over in England, they got a couple of million black people over there, so they have a carnival that starts, which doesn't make any sense, because most carnivals start in the fall of at the first of the year in the Caribbean and stuff like that. But they have a carnival that starts, I think, in August, the hottest time in England. And the reason why is these things, when you might have these type of events, is and if they have cut down on these events, is because that means that's how many people have left this planet. that they don't need. But one of the reasons why they have these events is during the summer solstice months, and you would have also, which is the 21st, but also Sirius rising, which sometimes one of the designated dates is July the 23rd. July 23rd.
Right.
Jim Carrey did a whole movie on 23.
Yes.
That movie was based off of Robert Anton Wilson's book, The Cosmic Trigger. So, The Cosmic Trigger. And July 23rd is when Sirius rises. And when the star Sirius rises in the sky, also the pineal glands are supposed to be the most active. So that's when they would have events to distract us. You see, like the carnival, like the Essence Festival, and different other things they would do to distract us. I know it was that way in the past. If it's fallen off in the United States, that's because they have contained what they think was the problem.
Right.
But so when Sirius was up in the sky, the star Sirius, when the Nile rose, you see, the people of the Nile rose. So this is one reason why they would have they would have these type of events, you see, and they would have this type of stuff when it comes to the carnival and all this type of stuff. So it is important that you get that tachyon energy, the purple disc, around this time to go along with what I'm going to also get you today. Now, part of the other package that we're going to be dealing with is an Egyptian Eye of Heru magical mirror. And this Eye of Heru magical mirror is put together to strengthen the third eye. It's the Eye of Heru, and you just stare in it. Now, if you can laminate it, it's even better, but you don't necessarily have to. Because, and we're going to go into this in a few minutes, so we have a new packet out.
Okay.
Which is the Eye of Heru third, Eye of Heru mirror you stare into. And we've already got one of the brothers, Hank Rising's son, who opened before me in New York. I gave him the Eye of Heru magic mirror, and he decided to put it behind him while he was speaking, and he was like, "Oh man, whew, this got some serious energy. I got to move it." So we already got it on the DVD where the brother is bearing witness to this thing and all. And this brother here does a whole lot of spiritual spiritual things. Now we have this Eye of Heru magic mirror, which also will come with the third eye ritual or the third eye invocation, and it also comes with two CDs. One is the Nesha CD, which also brings prosperity, and the other one is a womb CD. Okay. Which what had happened is it comes on with this cosmic sound like out in space.
Yeah.
Well, there was a brother named Jeff that sent me some stuff from NASA that he downloaded. And once he sent me these sounds out in space, I realized that when the womb CD was put together with the same the same sound, so they're literally out in space. And this anything womb dealing with the black dot and dealing with all that stuff, enhancing stuff. So this new Eye of Heru package, you see, is also going to be available. So please inquire. You're going to want to get this particular thing to strengthen your third eye. So we'll get back to that when we get on into the actual when we actually start the lecture. But so now going right along, I want to say just give a few things. You all right?
Yes, we're good. I want to go ahead right here because I'm putting your information in the chat room, but I want to make sure that everyone out there listening has Brother Bobby's number for contact for any of the information, finding out more about the DVDs to purchase, to make these purchases. 678-358-1055 is the number to call for Brother Bobby. Okay.
Yes. Now, so what we want to do is let's go into a few things. Let's see if I can get in. Is there anything else? Yes, it's interesting here. They are now bringing out these. They did an exhibit with the Omex in. I think it was in Seattle. It's already come and gone. One of the brothers went and bought a book and sent it to me. And in one of the pictures, the ones that they allowed, they show a little bit of writing. So what this is breaking two missions I'm going to break tonight. They show a little bit of writing, and Olmecs was supposed to be those who left no writing. Mm-hmm. But we found writing with this. They're quietly bringing out these exhibits. You see what I'm saying? So, they're quiet. They're bringing out these exhibits. Now, this is the key. So, if they had writings, what we now know is another stolen legacy, which means all of that Maya, Aztec, and all of that stuff, it was all Olmec. Mm-hmm. You see, it was all Olmec, and so this is another form of stolen legacy. Another form of stolen legacy here. When all of that stuff was Olmec. Now let me see if I can find the exhibit is gone now, but what we can at least do, let's see if I can find the Olmec book. What we can at least do is you can order the book from the museum. The book is called Olmec, the Colossal Masterworks of Ancient Mexico. It says Olmec, the Colossal Masterworks of Ancient Mexico. Let me see where there's a museum that you can go. You can go online and see. Can you find the Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco?
Okay.
And also the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. You're going to have to do that. You're going to try to get this particular book. You want to try to get this book, and try to order the book. And because this is some of the first things because they've only showed us the big heads. We didn't know they had a whole, an entire field of other stuff that they had, but for some reason they kept that hidden, and all. Yeah. So it's interesting here. Now the other thing here is we all knew this based on C. Freeman L. C. Freeman L. used to tell us that your pirates were the Moors, which makes sense. And the Moors was ousted from Spain in 1492, and they got on ships, and basically that's what they basically were the actual pirates, that went around, plundering or whatever type thing. That's why the outfits, and that's why they always showed the black element in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Even in the latest one, they dabble in voodoo. They got him where they got a little voodoo doll, and they're kind of trying to control him and the different things like that. So they're trying to send this message, and that's why the black element was always in there with the calypso. You see, the different things, because basically, here's another history that was usurped. The Moors were your pirates. You see what I'm saying? Were your pirates. So just trying to this is things, trying to reattach stolen legacy. Reattach stolen legacy. Take for instance, because the pirates' haven was in Jamaica, Port Royal. Mm-hmm. Now, Jamaica, just like anything, if you go there to this day, the majority of the people living there are black. You see what I'm saying? So, in this particular case, the whole Port Royal thing and the basis of Jamaica and the Jamaicans being all black, you can pretty much see how that whole Moorish paradigm also went. Okay, so moving right along. What transpired the last couple of months with all the weather?
Yes.
With all the weather. One, there was an angel by the name of Ariel.
Okay.
Ariel. Ariel. And that angel rose up, I think, sometime in March. And it's a she, but the name of this Ariel is called the Lion of God. The Lion of God. Now, it's interesting because this is one of the few ones Now, you can read about her in a book, Gustav Davidson's book, Dictionary of Angels by Gustav Davidson. That's the definitive text of all the angel stuff. Gustav Davidson's book, Dictionary of Angels. I think it came out in the 1960s, but it's the one that all these other books have been using. It's like the Holy Grail, and it's still in print. But it is explained in there that this Ariel angel, which is called the Lion of God, is also one of the angels. That's also a demon. So let me try to explain this and try to take this out of religious wicked practices and try to understand this as pure energy, because that's all we're talking about with everything is this energy and formulas. So now, Ariel is called the Lion of God, but Ariel is depicted as a woman. So the Lion of God, that's a woman, is none other than Sekhmet. You see, it's none other than Sekhmet. It could also be a form of Hecate, in which comes from Samaria, because she has one of her things is a lion, one is a ram, and one is a goat or something in some type of thing, a three-headed deity. But in this thing, the Lion of God is none other than Sekhmet. That would also be a form of Durga in India. And so, in so many words, because we're dealing with formulas now, she's also the God that is over nature.
Yes.
She protects nature. Now, this is an angel now.
Right.
She protects nature, but she's also a demon, which means she can also be the destructive part of nature.
Right.
So the first thing, we had the earthquake in Japan. You see what I'm saying? That was the destructive element.
Yes.
Okay, then we had these tornadoes that hit. Now, which is very interesting, because the preacher did come out. The preacher came out and said that the end of the world was supposed to be. When was that supposed to be? That was about 3 weeks ago.
That was about 3 weeks ago. He talked about it. It was actually on the 12th, I believe it was, when he said the world was supposed to come to an end.
Yeah, that was a little later than that, wasn't it? It was in May. No. Was it April? Well, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, let's put it this way. He was wrong in the calculation. Number one, because he calculated some shit from Noah's Ark. You know, it's the worst thing that you can't calculate stuff from the last books that's put on the earth. You know, second in the Quran, the Bible is one of the half of human history was over before there was anything known as a Bible.
Right.
So it's, you know, you see what I'm saying. So you can't really calculate. And then to calculate this thing off of Noah's Ark, which is a mythology. It's not even a real event. The only event that we have of a Noah's Ark is some type of Atlantean thing. And we can go even further to say that it meant that the real thing is when the physical world covered over the spiritual world, because we had prior worlds, pre-existing worlds. But the Christians are always wrong, because they only deal with one book, and he who knows one book knows none.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But in somehow the calculation that he dealt with was in the order of whenever that was, that date, and also October the 21st. Okay, October the 21st. But what did happen after that day was the event in Joplin, Missouri, the tornado.
Yes, the tornado.
It hit that Sunday.
It sure did.
It hit that Sunday. So in some psychic event or whatever type thing with his calculation, it wasn't the end of the world, but they did draw down on something. Now, we know that this has to be a spirit, because we're going to talk about two of them. The first one hit was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Yes.
And it stayed on the ground and went almost, a couple of 100 miles to Birmingham. Now, you know what happened in Birmingham with the 4 little girls.
Yes, I remember that.
And the 4 little girls, we raised those 4 little girls up, which everybody in Birmingham saw them as spirits. Yes. You see what I'm saying? For years. It was known that people would ride by the church and see the little girls trapped in the church. So now, so what did we do? We got the 4 little girls. We hooked them up with 4 goddesses that was around King Tut's tomb and King Tut's sarcophagus. Isis, Aset, Neptet, Isis, Nephthys, Serket, and Neith. Those 4 goddesses. But the 4 goddesses also corresponded, which is also found in King Tut's tomb, is the 4 sons of Horus. So anytime you got 4, you're talking about 4 signs of nature.
Yes.
4 forces of nature: water, air, earth. What's the other one?
Fire.
Fire. 4 forms of nature. So in so many words, for that thing to go out of its way and go to Birmingham, we're talking about the forces. We're talking about the forces of those 4 little girls changed into goddesses. And because all of this is up under Ariel.
Yes.
And Ariel is Sekhmet, and Sekhmet is a Kundalini goddess. Then what we're talking about here is multiple goddesses combined.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Multiple goddesses combined. Now, when that thing hit, it's ironic, the distraction is the key. When the one hit in Alabama, I don't know the date, but it hit, I think, on a Wednesday or Thursday. That Friday, Barack Obama gave up his real birth certificate.
It was right after that, yes.
Right. Gave up his real birth certificate. Okay. After that happened, he went in and they so-called said they got bin Laden. Now, we all know that bin Laden, like they said, he died in 2001.
Right.
So basically, they just, everything is for distraction. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Everything is for distraction. So he claimed he got bin Laden. You see what I'm saying? And all this stuff is going on for distraction. That's what it's always for. Anything happen in the news, like the Wiener Gate, and this asshole here sending pictures of his dick in his drawers to college students.
That's
you see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
But he's a Jew and just got married to an Arab.
Yeah.
Now, this is one thing key about a ritual like this. In the Arab world, I don't think you can count 10 Arab women on one hand that you know that you have seen outside that veil.
That's true.
Okay, this one happened to be a beauty queen that worked for Hillary Clinton, and he just got married. You see what I'm saying? My point here is some shit is just too sensationalized for it to be news. Some of this stuff is for distraction. Now they talking about Wienergate. You see what I'm saying? And what are the odds of his name being Wiener and he get caught showing his damn dick to a college student?
Right.
So all of this stuff, man, see, is for distraction. Now going back, these earthquakes, the way these tornadoes hit, it looked like Beirut. I mean, when these things hit, it looked like a bomb went through Vietnam.
Yes.
They're saying they ain't never seen nothing like that.
So true.
You see what I'm saying? You see, and the one that hit in Tuscaloosa, but all of a sudden, birth certificates is flying, bin Laden is caught, and the Wiener man done showed his shit.
Yes, yes.
You see what I'm saying? To keep you preoccupied. You see, now you got your Kaylee Anthony story. This girl killed her damn daughter. When she killed her daughter, Barack Obama wasn't even damn elected.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A nigga can steal a candy bar and his ass be locked up tomorrow.
So true.
Now, it's damn near 4 years later, now the Kaylee Anthony shit done come out. You see what I'm saying? They save things for key moment based on distraction. You see what I'm saying? Based on distraction. And so, this is some of the things. This is some of the things that's happening right now. Now, another thing that happened once rose up was the goddess Hecate. Now, the goddess Hecate is shown. Here go another one of those forces. Is another one of these forces. She's shown with a head of a lion, a head of a cow, and the head of a goat. And she's a goddess with 3 heads. She's also shows up with two other goddesses, Persephone and Demeter. And amongst all of those, they're also called the three fates. Now, the three fates in Greek literature, which is Phoenician, when they show up, it's all over. They're the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Egypt, they got four fates. But it's interesting here, they never show in the picture the four statues together. Can't find no books with all four statues. Every now and then you might find a little scampy drawing, but when they do the statues, they always will show three. So they got four fates, which is four forces of nature, but they got the three fates, which is also Hecate. Now, when she first showed up, is when the Birmingham, Alabama, tornado hit. This rise of Hecate and the three fates. But it all started with this force of Ariel, which also can give you the whole thing with Japan. You see, with Japan. So these are the things that's happening. And so when people asked the question, everybody was looking for that certain day that the earth was supposed to end. And what they didn't realize is the earth been ending with a series of natural disasters every day.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So when I asked when the apocalypse and when the 2012, you watching 2012 before your eyes, you just can't depict it because they got everybody looking for a damn day.
Yes.
Now, I will say this, and let me get my book right now. I always implore people to get this book. It's one of the books that I never, and believe me, I got literally thousands of books.
Yes.
But this one book here, I always use this book, and I've been talking about it for years, The Goddess Book of Days, Diane Stein.
Yes, Diane Stein.
It is a must-have.
Yes.
It is a must-have, because this is the only one I know that I can pick up on that actual day. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? I wish you would have done one with the gods, which if I get in touch with her, I'm going to tell her to do one called the Deity Book of Days and add both the male and the female.
Yes, that would be.
You see what I'm saying? That would be nice. But this one, and so we're going to look up the other part of what the preacher said. He said he was wrong, that his calculation was a little bit off. Well, it wasn't that much. You did have a little bit of stuff with that Joplin, Texas that hit the next day.
Yes.
He said the earth was supposed to end on that Saturday. Joplin hit the next day, and man, wiped it off the map.
Yes, it tore it up. Mm-hmm.
Tore it up. You see what I'm saying? So let's go to on the Goddess Book of Days right now, and this is what I want. Let's go to October the 21st. Now that is the day that he says that the earth will finally end. But it is curious what shows up on this day.
Yeah.
Now, and what shows up on this day? Because every now and then, even the dead can be given information.
Sure can.
You see what I'm saying? That's why I say don't throw out no Bible.
That's right.
Remember, now, all that stuff comes from ancient texts. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
You see, and I even got a text in a book called the Secret Books of Egyptian Gnostics. And they said at the conference, they were saying at the conference of Nicaea, they said when they was hashing up the Bible at these conferences, they said that they would have these entities whispering in their ear telling them what pages to re-enter or what pages to keep in. You see what I'm saying? Which means it's heavily prophetic now. Don't get me wrong.
That's right.
So now because the Bible is full of things that they are contradictions, which is good. If you got something to say, stay away from the dark, then you also got in the book of Isaiah.
Right.
In the book of Isaiah, I will give you the treasures of darkness. So anything that you saying that they got something in there that's reversing that shit. You see what I'm saying? Isaiah 45, I will give you the treasures of darkness. That's pure melanin. And that's what we're talking about today, Isaiah 45. And if you read that and somebody need to break down and study that whole chapter, you'll find all kind of alchemical shit. Now, we know the book of Revelation is full of that stuff. But just interesting here in the Goddess Book of Days, Diane Stein, the 21st, October the 21st, and this is what it says, the Feast of the Black Christ.
Yes.
The Feast of the Black Christ in Panama. So That day ain't automatically something that you're supposed to disregard. It's
That's
called
right.
the Feast, and look at the lineup. The
Yep.
Feast of the Black Christ in Panama and the Virgin Islands.
That's right.
And
Obatala.
the black, he is Obatala,
Yes.
Apollo, Adonis, Osiris, Horus, Quetzalcoatl, Baal, Dionysus, Sunfather, Dambalawedo, Shango, Dumuzi, Tammuz, also the day of Osriel and Ursula. You see what I'm saying? A Slavic god. But my point here is every black god in the world lines up on that day.
Sure does. Sure does.
Including the Black Christ, which is known as El Cristo Negro in Latin America and in the Caribbean and in the Virgin Islands.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You see, so my point here is this. Now, it was explained to me years ago on how this thing happens. There was supposed to be an event on 12/12/1994, and they had a whole 12/12/1994. People was looking for 12/12. So after 12/12 came and went, I was a little perplexed. I was like, well, what's up on the day? And the spirit world said, no, there's things that go on on those dates. They might not go on the physical,
right?
but they go on anyway. One of the things here is, if they're talking about a black Christ, and we know the Christ was, before it was usurped by Rome and made a historical person, it was talking about your own physical attainment and makeup. So if something don't go on out here,
it's in the spirit.
You see what I'm saying? Don't mean it ain't going on the inside of you. Because ultimately, what is actually evolving is us. It's the same thing that happened. I went through a series of events in the last 6 months. You see what I'm saying? In the last 6 months. And we did see, I'm talking about my own spiritual attainment. Right. And on the outside, we saw all types of stuff that happened with earthquakes and all that type of stuff to say we was going through something. But the test was when I went through the Atlanta airport and they couldn't pick me up on the radar.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which means you do go through things spiritually. Right. You do go through things inwardly.
Yes.
And because all of these gods that they're saying that is lined up like Osiris and Horus and stuff, that's talking about the stuff that's on the inside of us. So now don't get it twisted now to think because these are male deities. Remember now, each one of these male deities.
That's right.
Has to have a female side.
That's right.
There's none of them, including Jesus. Now, we know that Shiva turns into a woman. We know that Osiris was worshipped as a woman.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We got Vishnu also as Mahoney, a woman form. We have Shango used to be half woman because he shared half of his body with Oya. They were androgynous together. And Oya in him split up. You see what I'm saying? In this world, that's the same thing happened. You know, when Adam came and they took the rib, what you got to realize, the rib is also called ribeye. And ribeye is where you get the word rabbi, which means master. So Eve is Adam's master. Now, all of these, I don't care what deity you find around the world, they're going to have a feminine counterpart within them. Now, so now, we also have this with Jesus. Now, if you understand that the historical person didn't exist, that was taken from a group of people that was Gnostic people that traveled up near Rome, and they was worshiping a Jesus that had all of its Gnostic counterparts and did the original motifs and the original knowledge. And later on, Rome took that and made it into a historical cult. You see what I'm saying? Well, Paul took that, and Paul was a government agent. You see what I'm saying? Double-crossed the Romans and the Jews. You see, so they made it a historical figure. So if it wasn't a historical figure, and it can go all the way, be traced all the way back to Horus, because you got to realize there's a thing called Horus and Harmaket. Horus, Harmaku. Harmarket is called Harmaku. And Harmarket is the Sphinx. People don't know. The Sphinx that sits in the middle of the earth is called Harmarket. It's also called Horus on the horizon. But it's also called, that's the Greek word Harmarket. The Egyptian word is Harmaku. Horus and Mayat together in a pyramid, because the ku means pyramid. And as if you see, Horus and Mayat is flanking the pyramid. They are guarding the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
So Mayat is a form of the Christ too. Okay, now let's take this to the Coptic world. And in the Coptic world, we have a Jesus that was going to later day be barred by Rome and called Christianity. That you can get any Gnostic material that predates and that just, you know. So the Coptic world, they had a Jesus, and that Jesus, in that particular Jesus, his other half was Mary Magdalene. These were not historical people. There's twin souls that everybody got. Jesus' other half is Mary Magdalene. She's the whore. The whore represents the Kundalini energy. That's the feminine energy in him. She massages his feet just like Lakshmi does. So Lakshmi's Kundalini energy is called Shakti. She is the Shakti to Vishnu. Parvati is the Shakti Kundalini energy to Shiva. Well, the Shakti to Jesus is Mary Magdalene. You see what I'm saying? Which is nothing but a twin half of Jesus. It's one entity that is not a historical person. It's an entity that will live in the people in the future.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? A race of people in the future that will have androgynous dual halves. This has nothing to do with homosexuality. This is talking about the nature where everybody has two counterparts.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? To learn more about the androgyny, there's a book called Androgyny by June Singer. Androgyny by June Singer. It just came back out. It just came back out. It was out of print for a minute. Androgyny by June Singer. So the point I'm trying to make here is the lineup on this day that he's talking the 21st. You see what I'm saying? We're still talking about the rise of the gods or the goddesses. Period. Plural. You see what I'm saying? You see, so. That's also what's happening with this type of thing. Now let's go on. There's a few things we got to deal with. A few things we got to deal with here. Let's see here. So they just put cell phones. The World Health Organization just declared cell phones as a, what do they call it, carcinogen. I think it's carcinogen, which could cause cancer.
Yes, a health
and a health risk. And I didn't know this. Then on the back of all the cell phone boxes, they tell you not to hold it up to your ear.
They sure do.
All of them.
Yes,
they tell you not to hold it up to your ear. So where did this come from? They always put that. But remember now, we was trained on landlines.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So we automatically put it up to the ear.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? All of the cell phone things that says don't hold it up to your ear. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so they have now made this thing a health risk. Now my point here is, when I heard this, I said, well, you got to think spiritual. Think spiritual. Think spiritual. You don't want to think with fear. You got to think spiritual.
Right.
This might be an ascension mechanism at the time, because we talk about the inner ear melanin is the doorway to the temple.
Correct. Yes.
You see, it's the doorway to the temple, and we know they got rid of LPs and different technologies, so you hear the music, but you don't hear the music.
Right.
You see, so the cell phone also. You see what I'm saying? If we're talking frequencies here, we might be talking about a future ascension piece.
Right.
Because the pineal gland, which we go into today, the third eye, is the doorway to the temple. But remember now, the inner ear melanin is where sight starts from.
Yes.
So sight starts from hearing.
Yes. From hearing.
And then it develops into sight. Hearing represents another dimension.
Yes.
Another sound. even when you listen to this room CD, you're gonna hear the cosmic space. There's noises out there. You see what I'm saying? So, and they talk about the inner ear melanin.
Right.
Dr. Richard King's book is going to be reprinted. It should be coming out sometime. The one called African Origins of Biological Psychiatry.
Yes.
Richard King's book, African Origins of Biological Psychiatry. And as you know, Richard King is one of our pioneers in the melanin field.
Yes.
In the melanin field. So this is very interesting. This is very interesting. So we're going to look at this cell phone thing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And see where it goes. But meanwhile, don't hold it down. Shit up to your ear.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yes, and you can definitely, with the cell phones, one of the things that's also interesting is that they use so much of the voice over technology. They use so much of the voice over IP, so they're actually recording your voice, and what the person is hearing, it's actually a different frequency when it comes out on the other end. And a lot of that technology is there, and sometimes you can pick up different sounds. I know I can with my cell phone. Then I can actually pick up without using other types of phones. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. Pretty much what our souls might do. Because we do know that they had Stephen Hawking to come out and say that the aliens are coming and be afraid of them. And then they had some type of CIA or one of those agencies came out, I think sometime this year and mentioned, sometime last year, and mentioned about the aliens are coming.
Yeah.
So in so many words, they know that ain't nothing coming but us.
Right.
So now, to try to understand what this might be is to try to understand this. Melanin was studied by the governments.
Yeah.
All the way from, we can say that the real powerhouse of that was studied from World War II on into now. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? A part of your death camps and the Jewish death camps, because they had a Jew that was a race of bastard race of the Moors.
Yes. That
was rolling around Europe, and these were our cousins, these black people that they threw out of every country in Europe, and then the final solution to whiten them up was this strain of these Jews was to put them in the concentration camps, and that's where they studied a form of melanin, which was before it was called melanin, it was called occultum. And later on called melanin by Dr. Aaron Lerner in the 1950s, named it melanin, which is interesting here because they so-called have a comet coming in the fall of the year called Elenin. Elenin.
Yes.
What are they trying to say? They got a comet called Elenin. They took the M off. And it's not by mistake that this comet is right in line with this 21st thing. So, like I said again now, try to tell the people, when you make these dates, we're talking about stuff that's going on the inside of you. That way you don't be wrong, fail prophecies, and looking like a damn fool when your day of judgment don't come. You see what I'm saying? And according to this Diane Stein's book, the stuff she's talking about is Christ energy. And remember, the Christ energy is you ain't going to see no man in no robe with no sandals. The Christ is coming through you.
Right.
So but also lining up is they got a comet that's coming called Elenin. You see, sometime in the fall of the year. Very interesting here. Now, so they studied this melanin thing, and they came to the conclusion on how melanin works. They tried to make the prototype of the melanin, and the prototype of melanin is nanotechnology. Nanotechnology, that's the prototype. They even got some stuff where they study nanomelanin. But we do nanotechnology is the prototype of how melanin functions. So they studied how melanin functioned, and it ended up in what their version of it, their technological version of what they could create was nanotechnology. So anybody want to see how melanin works, you get the G.I. Joe movie that came out last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie explained nanotechnology and what it can do. So apparently what they are afraid of is when this nanotechnology unleashes in those people, those melanated people, the real nanotechnology, they're thinking it's going to be an invasion that will eat the world, about like a movie called Langoliers. Anybody seen the movie Langoliers? It was a movie came out in 1995. It was a Stephen King movie called Langoliers. And these little black dots ate up the earth. You see what I'm saying? Like ate up one dimension. It's called the Langoliers. So, but you will see, when you see the nanotechnology in the movie G.I. Joe, is what they are afraid of. And for some reason they're afraid of that coming up out of us, because they do know, based on all the ancient texts, that this world is just going to disappear. Even in the Bible it said, you see what I'm saying, this heaven and this hell will not be around.
Right.
So if hell ain't going to be around, what the hell are you scared of? Hell is only a state of condition, and based on your knowledge of where you are in this world. It can be hell or it can be heaven.
That's correct.
You see?
Yeah.
You see?
Right.
So now, but they say this heaven and earth will not be around. So obviously this thing is going to disappear, and they are afraid. They are afraid that it's going to be this war of destruction with this melanin rising up and doing the nanotechnology. I say that that's just their fear, because they're warfare people, and they always fear that. And why not? I mean, you might as well put it on the table if you figure there's a chance of that happening. But for what we know, it said it be gone like a twinkling of an eye. And so for what we know, we're talking about how this thing is going to go down, is basically we're just going to wake up and going to be in another world.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to wake up out of this dream, and this dream going to be gone, because this is only an illusion anyway. And once the return of the third eye, you understand what I'm saying? At its full aspect, you don't have to have all the destruction and stuff like that. You see them, all the destruction of. You're just going to come forth by day, which is the original book, the Egyptian book of the dead, say coming forth by day.
Yes,
yes. You see? So we're just going to wake up, but that's not stopping them. But they still are showing what this melanin could do, which is in the East Indian text, some of the East Indian Kundalini texts, where they say there are devices in the body that will come online and destroy everything if we were threatened for extinction. You see, we were threatened by extinction. That is also reported in the text. It's a book called Kundalini for a New World by Gene Kiefer. And they talk about these devices that they found in these texts in India. There's devices in the body. So naturally that was something that probably could have happened if we were slated for total extinction. So they have to go about and kill us off on other means slowly, and you see what I'm saying, and conspire, you see, to kill us, and do not announce the day of battle. So that's one aspect of it. But what we're talking about here is finding the third eye, where we're just going to wake up and have a whole new existence. There's a book, Finding of the Third Eye, by Vera Stanley Alder, A-L-D-E-R, Vera, V-E-R-A, Stanley, S-T-A-N-L-E-Y, Alder, A-L-D-E-R, a book been out for years. The Finding of the Third Eye. She has another one called The Fifth Dimension. But what's interesting in this particular book, why this book was always of interest, was why it was always of interest. She mentions in this book that one day the third eye, the third eyes would open.
Yes.
One day the third eyes will open. That's what we are upon now. That's why this is very important with this lecture we're doing tonight.
Right.
She mentioned it. Edgar Cayce said, well, one day there will be and he did it, but he couldn't understand the metaphysics of it. So he said one day there will be an incarnation of an entity called John Pineal. So he was looking for like a Christ figure. But John Pineal is the pineal gland. You see, and you got John, you got On, you got Elijah, you got Enoch, you got in a line of one before Christ would be Tahuti. So John is translated back into Egyptian as Ta'an or Tahuti. So John Pineal is melanin and the light of the pineal gland, the light of the world. So the entire Christ is the light of the world. In ancient Egypt, the light of the world, or Horus, the light of the world, is none other than the pineal gland.
Right, right.
Now, Moses wrestled with the angel, not Moses, Jacob wrestled with the angel all night. And when morning broke, he saw the face of God called pineal.
Called pineal, yes.
Called pineal. The great face is another name. The great face is another name for Heru, light. Another name for Heru, or the hero. Another name for the hero, where you get the word hero from, is Heru, which is Horus, which is the pineal gland, Eye of Heru. Another name for hero is called the great face, the face of God. The face of God is on the inside of your brain, which is the pineal gland. Now, going right along, we have Osiris is a corn deity. Now they say no one knows, not even Jesus knows when the end, but the Father. Well, Horus don't know what the end until Osiris comes back. Osiris is a corn deity, and the corn deity, the corn deity, they say that the pineal gland is exactly the size of a grain of corn. So we have the deity that Aleister Crowley drew and had it at Greenwich Village in the 1900s, 1919, I think, and a deity called Lamb. And Lamb has the head of a grain of corn. So they took this Lamb deity, put some bigger eyes on it, and they have been dealing with that with the alien thing for years. So the alien mask that you see, all of the bug-eyed things you see with the alien movies, that comes from Aleister Crowley's drawing of Lamb. But they say that Lamb is a part of an extraterrestrial government. But Lamb has a head is shaped like a grain of corn. Lamb is none other than the pineal gland. The extraterrestrial government is the pineal gland. You see, is the pineal gland. So now, going back, everybody, and so when I looked at Vera Stanley Alder's book, so, but where did she get this piece from? Was it a thing? Where did she get this piece from that said that the pineal glands were open? Well, she got it from, and some of the notes said, the Rosicrucian Cosmos Conception. There's a book out called the Rosicrucian Cosmos Conception. They just put the book out maybe 3 months ago. They put it back out. It's a book that's from the 1920s. So the Rosicrucian Cosmos Conception is coming from the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians also was for the benefactors for a lot of the stuff that the Moors left behind. They compiled all that and started the Rosicrucians also. And one of our people that was also a part of the Rosicrucian was what we call the father of metaphysics, Pascal Beverly Randolph, the black man. It's Pascal Beverly Randolph. So, but anyway, there's a book called the Rosicrucian Cosmos Conception, and that's where they talked about the third eyes coming back in the future. Now, to line this up, we got one last piece where a brother was doing some work on electromagnetism in France, and he ran up on an article of one of the prophecies of Nostradamus that they didn't let out of France, where it said that in the 1990s, black people in America will come into their own. So this is what we need to find out. What was it? We got the knowledge came back, and obviously everybody that's listening, your third eye is online. Otherwise, you wouldn't be. Trust me, you would not be listening tonight. So you don't have to worry about this. But what we want to find out here is this: what is it that if we're supposed to have more conscious people, and the consciousness did come. It did come. It came late 80s and during the 90s. But compared to the amount of people, when they say black people were going to come into your own, it's almost like a small percentage, like 1 point something.
Mm.
You see, the amount of people is conscious. But what happened to all those thousands of black people or indigenous people that third eye was supposed to come on that was prophesized?
Right.
You see, that was even got a date in the 1990s. You see, in the 1990s, even in the book, the guy Africans and Alien, Africans in Asia, Eugene, can't think of the guy's name. It's called Africans in Asia by Eugene Adams. In his book, he said he gave a date of the future Buddha. He said in future Buddha, he go again, one of the forms of melanin is also called the Buddha Rupa. And he said the future Buddha, which is Maitreya, or also called Kalki, will be hitting the earth around 91. So what happened while all of us was just a few people,
right.
But the majority of us are dead. You see what I'm saying? What happened?
Yes.
Well, let me go into a story of one of the guys that brought me into consciousness.
Okay.
And we believe now that this guy, he came to, you all right? How much time we got?
Oh, we are doing wonderful. We have an hour and 32 minutes to go in the form. Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to do this 32 minutes, and then we're going to, we'll probably do a question and answer, but let me just go with this.
Yes.
The guy that brought me into consciousness, because the spirit world said they had to work around the clock to get me out of the shoe industry, to get me out of the art and stuff like that. And the guy that ultimately brought me into consciousness is a brother by the name of Maddox Moore.
Mm.
Now, when Maddox Moore was bringing me into consciousness, I saw Maddox Moore 20 years later, and he was in Chicago working on Barack Obama's campaign. Mm. Now, Maddox Moore is a guy that came to college, and for some reason he would never graduate. So he got to Clark, Atlanta. It was called Clark College at that time. He got to Clark College at that time somewhere in the early 1970s. By the time I met him in 86, he was still in college. He would work, he'd go to school, he'd get other majors. He'd either go get his master's at Atlanta University, the neighboring school, but he would always stay on campus. And what Maddox, we found out, was he was an angel. He was an angel there to help students at a certain date, and sometimes to help students gain their consciousness. I know this for a fact now.
Yeah.
All these years, the Maddox Moore was an angelic being that came there, and also anyway, Maddox Moore used to travel around the world with Jesse Jackson back in the day. So now, he said Jesse told him something, because I said, Maddox, you ain't got no fro like the fro from the 70s, but you do keep a little bit of hair on your head. And this was like 1988.
Right.
He said, well, I need to tell you this story. What Jesse Jackson said, that the number one thing that the United States government did in the 1970s was one thing. They said, we have got to get rid of that afro. They said, we got to get rid of that afro. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, they first introduced the Jerry curl.
Yes.
But that didn't work, because the damn Jerry curl started working for niggas. A nigga could get a Jerry curl. A woman could be bald-headed and get the damn Jerry curl, and that old goddamn, that old drip shit, that activator make her hair grow down the damn street.
Yes.
You remember how people get that activator, put that activator on, and the motherfucker hair just grow like crazy. So that shit didn't work. Just made it look ridiculous. But it didn't work, because that activator, they didn't plan on that shit. That shit lubricated the nigga head, and people who ain't never had no hair, shit was growing like crazy. Might have fucked up some collars and some couches and some pillowcases, but your shit grew. So what happened was, but at that particular time, and we must ask this particular question, who invented this relaxer this no-lie relaxer.
Yes.
Did we invent it, or did the white man invent it, or the government? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We need to ask that, because because I'm going to read something to you that was never put on any products in this country, but the Spirit will bring it to us in another country.
Mm.
There's some stuff called Surya, S-U-R-A, henna, Brazil. S-U-R-Y-A, F-U-R-Y-A, henna, then it says Brazil. So it's from Brazil. We never saw this in this country.
No.
Because what it's going to say on the back of this box is going to reveal how they shut down the fucking pineal glands. And this is what it says. This is what it says. This henna does not damage melanin follicles. Remember now, Samson was what? The strength was in his hair.
It was in the hair, yes.
Was in the hair. DNA, our hair, spirals like DNA.
Yes, it does.
Also, they say that the universe spirals like our hair, or like Dr. York used to call the 9 ether.
Yes.
Okay? Now,
yes.
The strength was in his hair. He cut the hair off, and what happened?
You cut
he went blind.
Yes, yes.
Which meant they stopped the third eye.
Right.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yes.
You see, now, we must ask this particular question, because if Jesse Jackson said that the number one shit when he was dealing with them crackers, the number one shit, when I say that, I ain't talking about all you white folks. I'm talking about them damn government motherfuckers who've been on our ass since day one. You see what I'm saying now? We're not letting them off the hook. The point I'm trying to make here is, he said the number one thing they had to do was to, number one thing they had to do was to get rid of them afros. You see what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, somewhere in the early 90s, because before that, to get a bad perm, a perm would eat your fucking head out in the 70s.
It sure would.
Mm-hmm. We had a girl who used to go to college with us. We call her Eat Out Head. And shit. Eat your shit out. You know, Eat Out Head wanted to go with me. I'm so like, you got a bit of a reputation here, and I ain't got enough goddamn wigs. And the wig just wasn't taking off right at that time. This was the early 80s. But anyway, where did this thing come? Somewhere in the early 80s, we started getting this bouncing and behaving, this no-lie relaxer.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, this about almost maybe a decade before the 90s. By the time the 90s caught on, it was home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had done weaned out all of the Jerry curl people, because that didn't work, because the activator was hooking niggas up.
Yes.
And shit. Some motherfuckers say, I don't need no Jerry curl. Let's just go and buy some damn activator. You see, so this no-lie relaxer started hitting, and it became the predominant thing for African Americans mostly.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s. Now, if they say this thing damages hair follicles, that means also that hair has something to do, because if the hair looks like the DNA, that means that the hair has to affect, it also has to, whatever that relaxer shit was, has to affect the DNA also.
Right.
And remember I tell the story about the guy, the chemist that came to Spelman College and said that they was doing autopsies on black women?
Yes.
And they cut open their head and they had this green shit on their damn scalp.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew what the fuck it was, and they was trying to ask, and he was too embarrassed, he didn't tell them. It was that fucking no-lie relaxer. Now, for you out there that got that in your head, you don't need to worry. Why? You want to know why you don't need to worry? Because obviously you were so strong, you came back to the planet, and you became conscious anyway, because we got a certain amount of people that were sent back, you see what I'm saying, with their shit intact to come conscious anyway. But we talking about the masses of the people. You see, that's what this stuff was talking about.
Right.
You see, that's what, and that was how they was able to cut off the DNA in the head. Now we do know about the DNA now; it can be repair itself, because all you got to do is just wait a couple of months and that nappy shit will bust right back through the scalp. It's indestructible.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You ain't never heard nobody say, I had nappy ass hair, then I got a perm, and then the perm grew out and my hair stayed bouncing and behaving. That's bullshit. You see,
right?
Your shit nappy, not unless it fall out, not unless you bald head, that shit gonna be nappy. You see. So when you see that, that means that it's so strong, it's indestructible, it repairs itself, but it can retard consciousness if you wear it all the time, which is the majority of the people. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
You see. But here's this thing right on the back of the box. You see, just like the other thing we talk about, this foot patch, and it was in my last lecture I did in January, and they say the foot patch is designed to stop the growth of melanin in your feet. You see. And we know that that's why it was important that the gods dance, the dance in Shiva. You see what I'm saying? The dance in Kali, the dance in Ganesha. You see what I'm saying? The gods dance because when you dance, you unleash the patches of melanin in your feet. That is the reason why you see Lakshmi or Mary Magdalene in this particular case, massaging the feet of Jesus to unleash that melanin. So that the foot patch was there to stop the production of the growth of melanin in the feet. That this stuff that people started wearing. But nevertheless, this is what stopped the pineal glands